Yeah, King Conan issue 1. This was incredible. This was dope. This is, you know what? I didn't really come in with expectations other than I just wanted it to be a good comic, and this was a really good comic. It had obviously had sword wielders. There's some magic in there. There's sorcerers. Wizards, necromancers, whatever you want to call it, that battle King Conan. And it's funny. The title's actually misleading because um, he's not a king in this comic. He actually leaves his kingdom to pursue, adventure. And I like this comic because it shows him going through all these motions. It shows different stages of his life where, he's fighting kings to become a king. He's venturing to these different lands, fighting these like the monsters, you know what I'm saying? Different monsters with all sorts of powers and shapes and, looks, appearances to them. I read about Conan and other stories. I actually have another comic of his that I read. It was a while back, and that was solid. But this King Conan is really good, man. It had everything I wanted it to have. I know that Conan, he doesn't like sorcerers. He doesn't like wizards. So I think that's actually pretty cool because he goes after them. He goes after them. And he is a barbarian. Like, let's not get him mistaken. This was really good because it starts with him basically, in the sea. The thunderous sea is just carrying him. You know what I'm saying? It's just carrying him, and he's like, he's grasping for air, trying to survive. I'm gonna show a couple pictures, a couple panels. I know there was a person that asked me to add some stuff. He's like, show some pictures. So I'm gonna show some pictures, but he was in the water, trying to survive, and then it goes about, the story goes forward and says, he left his throne. He left his throne because he didn't want to because he felt like it civilized him too much. It civilized him too much. So yeah, he's in the water. His ship gets smashed by the water and the jagged rocks, and you can see in the panels, there's all this debris from his ship, and he finds his way on this island that seemingly hasn't been discovered, but it's land. So he's like, I need to go to this land or else I'm gonna get smashed between, I'm gonna get destroyed by this raging water and these jagged rocks. So he finds his way upon shore. There's some really cool panels of him, visually that are just like, I'm like, okay, they're not playing around here, man. And there's a monologue going on where it's talking about, how he left the kingdom and, his reasons for leaving the kingdom. And then it has flashbacks, like I said, of well, no, I don't think I said it, but it has flashbacks of him ascending to being a king. It shows him, conquering other kings, facing different monsters from different parts of the world, of all shapes and sizes. It's really incredible. He has a son. He has a son in this, and like I said, I'm not too familiar with Conan as far as like his comic book history, you know, and also just his history in the novels. So, you guys might be like, "Oh, he already had a son." You don't know that? I don't. But it's really cool to know that there's a son in here. So, I'm pretty sure that with the addition of his son, and he mentors his son. There's a small panel in the comic where he's mentoring his son. So, I think that's gonna have him grounded. That gives him the responsibility, certain responsibility, along with being a king. Well, a ex king. And yeah, he's going through the motions on this island, and as he's walking around, he sees these maggot covered corpses, on the shore, and he's quickly thinking to himself, there's something foul going on here. I don't know if it was just these guys being shipwrecked, but something definitely is amiss here, and he can feel it. And while he's going, walking around on this island, he gets attacked. He gets attacked by um, a sorcerer, necromancer, wizard, and his name is Thoth Amen. That's what I that's how I pronounce it. His name is Thoth Amen. I'll show that panel here, and they just battle it out. So it's basically like, Conan being the warrior barbarian, skilled sword wielder that he is against this, this wizard who, specializes in dark magic because he has like all these snakes and stuff, and he's able to command animals to do his deeds viciously. There's a scene where Conan, he gets blinded by this wizard because he has like this power. He just messes up his eyes, and then Conan can't see, so Conan just tackles him. He just tackles him off a cliff, and they fall into the water. And there's a corpse that's stuck to the rocks in the water. And Conan grabs a sword as they're like tumbling around in the water, and he just cuts off his hand. And apparently, this wizard has like a snake ring. It's like these snakes, coiled together, and it gives him this power. And Conan cuts off his hand, and in the water you can see all the bubbles, and you can see the blood, and the wizard is screaming in the water. He's like, ah! And then there's sharks. There's sharks too. So they're in the sea. There's sharks in this frigid water, and his blood is just like streaming all in the water. And so, by his arm being cut off by Conan, and then the shark comes and eats his hand, and then a whole bunch of crazy stuff happens. They get out the water. Conan and Thoth Amen get out the water, and they're still battling. And apparently, you're assuming like, okay, well, this wizard has one hand, even though he's still powerful. He has one hand, so what's he gonna do? Dude, this dude is able to reanimate himself. He called upon his hand back, and I think it's whether the hand had the snake ring on it or didn't. I don't know. I don't want to jump back into it and look at it, but he certainly got the power to reanimate his flesh through the ring. So, long story short, he calls upon his hand, from the belly of the shark. It rips out of the belly of the shark, gets back on his hand, and him and Conan are battling it out, and it is crazy. Like this is a really good comic, man. To be like, and I got the other issues. You know what I'm saying? I'm really gonna be hard on these comics that I'm reading going forward, man, because I committed to a comic, a comic story, Hulk, for example. This new Hulk. There's a Hulk that like Banner and Hulk are separate, and Banner's like controlling Hulk. Like and the panels were amazing, but the story was just so bloated. So I'm really gonna be tight on this, moving forward as far as grading some of these comics. Because if the first one don't do it, and you guys all know first impressions are everything, right? I'm gonna stop giving these comics the benefit of the doubt, right? I need you to knock shit out the park right when I read the first issue. Because if I'm not blown away by the first issue, why would I, you know what I'm saying? Why would I give the goodwill of reading a second one? The second one might be worse, and I was just okay with the second and the first one. The first one was I don't want the second one. So this was fantastic though. King Conan, check it out, man. Check it out. Peace.